Okay, the roll is closed. Members, we have 79 co-authors are added. Our final roll call is on the bill. We can take actually a voice vote on this item. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Members, to commemorate Holocaust Memorial Week, the members of our assembly have invited those affected by the Holocaust, including survivors, liberators, and family members, to join with us today. We've extended to them the privileges of the floor. We will now view a video to learn more about our guest, and as the lights are dimmed, we will begin the video.
There's not too many of us left, and if we don't tell the story, people will forget what happened. So we have to tell it, to keep it in mind that people remember what happened.
Six million Jews were murdered during the Holocaust. Many of those who survived fled Europe to rebuild their lives. As the years pass, fewer survivors remain. And those who are left were children when Adolf Hitler and the Nazis rose to power in 1933. They witnessed and endured things no child should ever have to experience. The painful memories are still vivid, and those who can bear it tell the stories of their childhood. Stephanie Seltzer, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Brian Daly of Assembly District 1. Stephanie was born in Poland in 1938. She was just a baby when the Nazis invaded and sent her family to the ghetto. Stephanie's father and most of her family died there. Stephanie's mother, Dunka, smuggled her out of the ghetto when Stephanie was just 3 years old. Dunka continued to find hiding places for Stephanie until the end of the war. Stephanie and her mother immigrated to America in 1952. Ruth Turner, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Jim Wood of Assembly District 2. Ruth was born in Germany in 1935. When she was just 3 years old, Ruth, her parents, and grandmother fled by ship to Shanghai, China. There the family lived in a number of places, sometimes in very poor and filthy conditions, with very little food, but at least they were safe from the Nazis. While in China, the family met a U.S. soldier stationed there. Ultimately, that soldier was the sponsor that facilitated their move to America. After a brief detour in Canada, the family eventually arrived in the U.S. in 1951. Simon and Michelle Korn, survivors, honored by Assemblymember James Gallagher of Assembly District 3. Simon and Michelle were both born in Poland. In 1939, both of their families were sent to a Jewish ghetto, and men moved to several concentration camps, ultimately ending up in Dachau. In 1945, they were liberated by U.S. forces. Many of their family members did not survive. The couple immigrated to the United States in 1950. Simon passed away in 2013. Irving Baum, prisoner of war, honored by Assemblymember Bill Dodd of Assembly District 4. Irving was in the U.S. Air Force when the B-17 bomber he was serving on caught fire over Berlin after a mid-air collision. The entire crew bailed out and were captured on the ground. Irving was treated more cruelly by the Germans because of his Jewish heritage. He was freed by General Patton's forces in 1945. Irving's final assignment in the war was processing survivors at the Dachau death camp. This was his most traumatic experience of the war. Bernard Marks, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Kevin McCarty of Assembly District 7. Bernard was born in Poland. His family was forced into the ghetto in 1939 during the German occupation. After 5 years, he was shipped to Auschwitz concentration camp, then to a satellite concentration camp of Dachau. In 1945, Bernard and his father were liberated by the U.S. Army's 12th Armored Division. He immigrated to the United States 2 years later, eventually serving in the U.S. Army in Europe and in Korea. Elisa Einhorn, child of a survivor, representing her father, David Einhorn, honored by Assemblyman Ken Cooley of Assembly District 8. David was born in Poland in 1919. David survived ghettos and 5 concentration camps. He was 26 years old when he was liberated in 1945. He only weighed 60 pounds. David does not know the fate of 2 of his brothers. The rest of his family was killed. David came to the United States in 1950. Denise Lawrence Creven, child of a survivor, representing her father, Michael Lawrence, honored by Assemblymember Jim Cooper of Assembly District 9. Michael was born in Czechoslovakia. Starting in 1941, he survived 4 grueling years in 3 different concentration camps, including Auschwitz. He was liberated by U.S. Army forces. Michael immigrated to the United States in 1950. He passed away 7 years ago. Betka Kahut, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Mark Levine of Assembly District 10. Betka was born in Czechoslovakia in 1921. Betka, along with her sister Kathy, survived 3 years in Auschwitz. Betka came to the U.S. in 1984 with her husband Leo, also a Holocaust survivor. Kathy immigrated to Israel and still lives there today. Lisi Engel and Kurt Schwager, survivors, honored by Assemblymember Susan Talamantes Eggman of Assembly District 13. Lisi and Kurt grew up in Vienna, Austria. Both immigrated to the United States to escape the Nazis. The couple met in New York City. They married and now live in Stockton. Branislava Shitin, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Susan Bonilla of Assembly District 14. Branislava was born in the Ukraine in 1939. During the war, Branislava and her mother fled to Kazakhstan to stay alive. Her relatives were sent to concentration camps. Branislava came to America in 1993. Ludmila Babic, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Tony Thurmond of Assembly District 15. Ludmila's parents were from Romania. Ludmila, however, was born in Russia in 1942 as the family was on the run from the Nazis. Ludmila's father was called to serve in the Red Army, while Ludmila spent the first few years of her young life with her mother, fleeing and nearly starving. Ludmila immigrated to the United States 15 years ago. Eli Kozak, child of survivors, representing his parents, Moses and Sonia Kozak, honored by Assemblymember Catherine Baker of Assembly District 16. Sonia and Moses were born in Poland. Both Sonia and Moses were married to other people and had small children. Sonia's first husband and children were murdered by the Nazis as she watched in horror. Moses' first wife and children were killed also. The couple met when they both broke into the same hospital to find supplies for injuries they suffered while escaping the Nazis. After the war, Sonia and Moses immigrated to the U.S. to start a new family together. Agnes Rothblatt, survivor, honored by Assemblymember David Chu of Assembly District 17. Agnes was born in Hungary. In 1944, she and her family were rounded up and forced to live in the Budapest ghetto. She was freed after the Soviets moved in. Agnes immigrated to the United States in 1949 after the communist takeover of Hungary. Monique Schonberger, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Rob Bonta of Assembly District 18. Monique was born in France in 1928. Like most Jews, she was forced to wear the yellow star and endured many brutalities during the German occupation. With the help of her grandfather and her parents, Monique and her younger brother crossed the border into the unoccupied region of France. After the war, her family reunited in Paris. Monique immigrated to the U.S. in 1948. Michael Lorenz, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Phil Ting of Assembly District 19. Michael was born in Hungary in 1923. In 1944, when the Germans invaded, Michael was separated from his family and taken to a work battalion, then shipped to Buchenwald concentration camp. When Michael was liberated, he discovered his entire family had been executed. Michael moved to the U.S. in 1976. Leon, Vermont, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Bill Quirk of Assembly District 20. Leon was born in Poland in 1929, but his family moved to France 1 year later. Starting in 1940, when Germany invaded France, Leon fled to a series of orphanages, concentration camps, foster homes, and even a Dominican convent, until he finally escaped to safety in Switzerland. Alan Rasmussen, liberator, honored by Assemblymember Jim Patterson of Assembly District 23. Allen fought in the United States Army 71st Infantry Division and helped liberate 2 concentration camps in 1945, where he witnessed unspeakable horrors endured by the Jewish people he helped rescue. Benjamin Sins, child of survivor, honored by Assemblymember Rich Gordon of Assembly District 24. Simon Sins, child of survivor, honored by Assemblymember Kansan Chu of Assembly District 25. Brothers Benjamin and Simon are representing their father, Adam Sins. Adam was born in Poland in 1910. When the Nazis took over, he was forced to go to the ghetto. His wife, Genya, son and nephew were eventually sent to Auschwitz concentration camp. While at the death camp, Adam was separated from his family. Tragically, the boys were sent to the crematorium. Adam and his wife were reunited after the war. They had Simon while still in Europe. The family moved to the United States in 1949, where Benjamin was born. Genya passed away in 1994. Adam followed 5 years ago at the age of 99. Dr. Scott Klein, child of survivors Dr. Erwin and Teresa Klein, honored by Assemblymember Nora Campos of Assembly District 27. Both Erwin and Teresa were born in Poland. The pair survived the horrors of the Auschwitz concentration camp. Erwin and Teresa were liberated by the Russian army. The couple moved to the United States in 1950. Erwin passed away in 1982. Teresa followed just 2 years ago. Sam Young, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Rudy Salas of Assembly District 32. And by Assemblymember Shannon Grove of Assembly District 34. Sam was born in Czechoslovakia in 1922. At the age of 21, Sam was forced to go to a work camp outside of Poland, while the rest of his family was taken to the Auschwitz concentration camp. Sam stayed alive by baking bread for the army. At one point, he was able to forge documents, and he and his family were able to escape to Czechoslovakia. Sam moved to the United States in 1946. Michael Rosenbach, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Tom Lackey of Assembly District 36. Michael's parents are from Poland, and they and his 2 young sisters escaped the ghetto in Warsaw. His mother was pregnant with Michael as the family went on the run. Michael's father became separated from the family, and Michael's pregnant mother and 2 young sisters traveled 2,600 miles to Russia, where Michael was born in 1942. After the war, Michael's family reunited with his father in Germany. The family immigrated to the United States in 1945. Mike Wolf, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Doss Williams of Assembly District 37. Mike was born in Germany in 1936. When he was just 3 years old, Mike was sent to Scotland on a Kinder transport boat. In 1940, Mike was reunited with his parents in Bolivia. Mike came to the United States in 1952. Dorothy Greenstein, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Patty Lopez of Assembly District 39. Dorothy was born in Poland in 1930. She was only 8 years old when the bombs started falling and her town was stormed by the Nazis. Dorothy's family was rounded up and sent to a ghetto. Dorothy's light hair and eyes helped her pass as a non-Jew. She hid in people's homes, in work camps, in barns, and even in an outhouse. The Russians liberated Poland in 1945. Dorothy immigrated to Canada in 1948. She married fellow Holocaust survivor Alan Greenstein. The family moved to Los Angeles in 1957. Ike Langholtz, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Chris Holden of Assembly District 41. Ike was only 8 years old when the Nazis stormed his hometown in Poland. He and his family were sent to labor camps. Ike's mother, 3 siblings, and his grandmother were murdered while at the camps. Ike, his father, and 3 other siblings barely survived. In 1951, Ike and his only living brother immigrated to the United States. Leo Mettler, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Chad Mays of Assembly District 42. Leo was born in Poland in 1925. When he was only 14 years old, Leo and his family were sent to the ghetto. Leo's family was then sent to Auschwitz concentration camp, where they all died. Leo, however, was sent to a series of labor camps. In 1945, Leo was liberated by the Russian army. After Leo came to America, he served in the U.S. military during the Korean War. Janet Deal, child of survivor, representing her mother, Kitty Olsher, honored by Assemblyman Mike Gatto of Assembly District 43. Kitty was born in Austria in 1923. When she was a child, her family moved to Hungary, where she became an accomplished ballerina. In 1939, Kitty was shipped by cattle car to a series of concentration camps. Because she could speak several languages and could interpret, she was put in charge of burying the dead. After the war, she immigrated to the United States in 1946. Kitty passed away in 2006. Clara Knopfler, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Jackie Irwin of Assembly District 44. Clara was born in Romania in 1927. Clara was 17 when she and her mother were taken to the ghetto. Later, they were transported to the Auschwitz and then Riga concentration camps, finally ending up in labor camps in East Prussia. Clara lost 37 family members in the Holocaust. In 1962, she immigrated to France and eventually settled in the United States. Henry Stamboka, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Matt Dababneh of Assembly District 45. Henry was born in Poland in 1916. He was in the Polish military when the war broke out with Germany in 1939. He was captured as a prisoner of war, but escaped to the Russian-occupied part of Poland. That's where he met his wife, Helen. Henry, Helen, and Helen's father were arrested by the Russians and sent to prison for 2.5 years. Their first child was born in prison. They were eventually released. Henry brought his family to America in 1949. Helen passed away last year. Eva Trink, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Adrian Nazarian of Assembly District 46. Eva was born in Czechoslovakia in 1937. She was just 5 years old when her family was rounded up and taken to an internment camp. Eva was freed at the end of the war in 1945. She immigrated to the United States with her husband and son in 1969. Ernie Weiss, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Richard Bloom of Assembly District 50. Ernie was born in Czechoslovakia in 1927. He was forced to travel in cattle cars to Auschwitz and then to Dachau concentration camps. Ernie survived death marches and typhoid fever before being liberated in 1945. He immigrated to the United States in 1947. Fritz Friedman, child of survivor, representing his mother, Pezka Freeman, honored by Assemblymember Miguel Santiago of Assembly District 53. Pezka was born in Poland in 1920. She was a 19-year-old student when the war broke out in 1939. Pezka was sent to the Budapest ghetto, but was given the chance to escape on the Kazner train headed for Portugal. Unfortunately, the D-Day invasion caused the train to be diverted to the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp in Germany, where she stayed for 6 months. After the war, Pezka married fellow Holocaust survivor William Friedman. The couple came to the United States in 1947. William passed away in 1983. Chuck Abel, child of survivor, representing his father, Boris Abel, honored by Assemblymember Sebastian Ridley Thomas of Assembly District 54. Boris was born in Lithuania in 1915. At the age of 19, he was forced to go to Auschwitz concentration camp as a slave laborer. Boris recalled that 1,000 prisoners died every day. He was liberated in 1945 and arrived in America in 1949. Boris passed away last year. Dora Cohen, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Ling Ling Chang of Assembly District 55. Dora was born during the Holocaust in 1944 in a French labor camp. Dora's parents, Adele and Jean-René, met and married at the camp. American forces liberated France in 1945. 4 years later, Dora's family, including her 2 younger brothers, arrived in the United States. Mina Liederman, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Eduardo Garcia of Assembly District 56. Mina was born in Poland in 1923. She and her family were sent to the Warsaw Ghetto. Mina and one of her sisters are the only survivors in her family. Her mother and the rest of her siblings were all killed in the ghetto or the Treblinka death camp. Shortly after liberation, Mina met her husband, fellow Holocaust survivor Itzhak Meyer. The couple came to America in 1946. Itzhak passed away in 1978. Mark Rubin, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Jose Medina of Assembly District 61. Mark was born in Czechoslovakia in 1937. At the age of 6, Mark was sent to hide with Gentile friends in the Tatra Mountains. Mark, his mother, and his brother survived by pretending to be Gentiles. Eventually, the family was reported to the Gestapo and sent to a concentration camp in Terezin. Mark and his family were liberated in 1945. The family immigrated to the United States in 1948. Suzanne Goldsmith, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Anthony Rinden of Assembly District 63. Suzanne was born in Austria in 1928. She was only 10 years old when she and her brother Peter were sent to England on a Kindertransport. Suzanne and her brother were reunited with her parents, Hans and Margaret Weiss, and the family moved to the United States in 1940. Suzanne married fellow Holocaust survivor Walter Goldsmith. Walter passed away 15 years ago. Marta Cohn, survivor, honored by Assemblymember David Hadley of Assembly District 66. Marta was born in France in 1920. She was a teenager when Hitler rose to power. As the Nazi occupation of France escalated, Marta joined the French army and slipped behind enemy lines to report Nazi troop movement. In 1956, Marta moved to the United States. At the age of 80, she was awarded France's highest military honor for her service. Dr. William Cott, Liberator, honored by Assemblymember Tom Daly of Assembly District 69. William served in General Patton's Third Army. William witnessed unspeakable atrocities as he and his fellow American soldiers liberated countless Jews from Buchenwald concentration camp in 1945. Ida Waxberg, survivor, honored by Assemblymember Travis Allen of Assembly District 72. Ida was born in Poland in 1919. Ida's hometown was transformed into a ghetto in 1941. The next year, she was sent to Auschwitz concentration camp. Ida's entire family, except for one brother, were killed by the Nazis. After liberation in 1945, Ida married fellow Holocaust survivor Jack. Their son Maury was born at a misplaced persons camp in Germany. The family moved to the United States in 1948. Jack passed away almost 19 years ago. Vera Fallis Laurel, survivor, honored by Speaker Tony Atkins of Assembly District 78. Vera was born in Hungary in 1937. Vera's father was sent to a concentration camp and then to the Russian front, and he was never seen again. Vera and her mother were sent to the ghetto. Vera's mother sent her away in an attempt to save her. Eventually, she ended up in a Red Cross camp, but the conditions were poor, and children died every day of starvation or from the cold. Vera's mother found her just after the war. Little Vera was just days away from death. Vera came to the United States in 1957. Although it is painful to recall the travesty of the Holocaust, we must continue to tell the stories to ensure that this past never becomes our future.
Our honored guests are seated at members' desks. I would ask our survivors, liberators, and families and special guests to rise as they are able and be recognized and acknowledged. Thank you all. Mr. Levine, I now will recognize you at your desk for the purpose of introduction.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Before session today, the Jewish Caucus held a reception for all of our honorees. At that reception, a choir sang traditional Jewish songs for the honorees in the rotunda. Please join me in recognizing the Sacramento Interfaith Youth Choir with singers from Congregation Beth Shalom, Trinity Episcopal Cathedral, and the Shalom School.
Members, we have other guests present for our special ceremony in the chamber today. I want to give a special welcome to a number of our senators. I noticed a few were here in the beginning and had to leave, but to Senator Ben Allen, Senator Block, thank you for being here, and also former Speaker and Senator Hertzberg were here, as was Senator Leno. And we may have seen Senator Jackson and Jeff Stone as well stop by. And Senator Fuller is here as well, or has been here. So I want to thank them for joining us for this really special ceremony. And again, I want to give a great welcome and a thank you to our guest chaplain, Rabbi Cantor Alana Rosen Brown. And I want to ask her to come forward to deliver the Warner's Kaddish.
Please join me in rising. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach hirutei ve'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach ve'yishtabach ve'yitpa'ar ve'yitramam ve'yitnaseh ve'yithadar ve'yitale ve'yitalal shemei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata tushbechata ve'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shamaya, V'chayim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. Osei Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel Ve'imru Amen. Zichronam Livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing.
Thank you. Members, as we conclude our ceremony, a few announcements. You may be seated. On your desk is a program, a booklet with the biographies of our special guest here today, a lapel pin from Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Memorial in Israel. And prior to your departure from the Capitol, we hope you will have an opportunity to see the special exhibit in the second floor rotunda of the Capitol. And this exhibit will be here through April 17th. And on behalf of the Assembly members, of Assemblymember Levine and the Jewish Caucus, we extend our thanks to all of our distinguished guests and the Assembly members here today who assisted in our efforts to help future generations and the current generation never forget. So this concludes our ceremony. We're going to take a brief recess to allow our guests to depart the chamber. Members, do not leave the chamber. We have other business on the file, but we will take a few moments. Thank you very much.